Ossi Odoichu. Odo kuno Khalia Donada Khanagiski Chalagi Khanianuya. My name is Chief Eagle Spirit Dancing. I do not own the copyrights to this music. Um, Starting out with a rain song because it is raining and it will be for the foreseeable future sometime tomorrow. The rains have definitely increased. We're getting deluges like weekly, 1 or 2 days every week. It's getting worse. I thank Almighty God that me and my wife had the, wherewithal and the mind to put some pumps in the basement installed because we were getting flooded to the point we almost lost our boiler and our hot water heater just 2 years ago. So we have all of that installed now, and thank God because it's taking most of the water out of here, out of the basement. So it's rough. Like I said, it's raining right now and throughout the tri-state area. It's coming down again. So cut this off. What I wanted to get into today, topic of discussion, the political atmosphere in Washington, D.C., and its impacts on society. When you are the leader of something, usually people are marching to the beat of your drum. And you could do one of two things. You can lead the people into a utopian society, or you can lead them into the abyss of hell. Because they're following your drum beats, your drum rolls. However you perceive it, they're following you. That's why we call our politicians leaders. And what we're seeing today is a direct result of not only poor leadership, very corrupt, perverse leadership, and I say Lauren Boebert and her Hippocratic self, and how should I put, causes ripple effects on those who are following because they become disenfranchised, disillusioned, dismayed, and angry on top of it. People are outraged and tired of the crap that these leaders are supposed to espouse in terms of what they're supposed to be doing, not what they're doing. And the people are confused, upset, outraged, angry. And that anger is starting to turn unto itself, meaning the tail that's following the leaders are starting to encircle and attack each other. So people who are outrageously depressed because, again, when you structure a society such as this that we live under, and you start to see it cracking at the seams, because that's exactly what we're going through right now. People feel the stress through economics, through violence, just basic survival living. People are trying to survive, which reminds me, myself within the past 6 months because of my job situation. I was struggling for a while, fell behind on my mortgage, and the mortgage company, they worked with us, but ultimately what they did was they kicked us while we were down on the ground instead of coming out with a different formula or plan or system. They decided they was going to increase our mortgage 120%. So as you can imagine, I'm walking on eggshells right now in my house. This is what this system does. What does this have to do with politics? Everything. Because everything is connected to politics, and everything is supposed to come from what? The top down, the trickle down theory, right? And that trickle down is to keep them up at the top and keep everyone else struggling on the bottom, right where we are and have always been since this country's inception from the very beginning, with no end in sight. So here we are today. People are angry, frustrated, upset, but people march on. People still go to work. People try to maintain their lives. Civilized people, people who study the Bible, scriptures, history, tend to be a little more on the restraint or on the side of restraint, even with anger and frustration, because many of us are angry. I always say, like the minister has said before, Minister Farrakhan has said, do not play with your brother today. Do not play with your brother today if you want to live. He told me a lot. This is years ago he said this. I can just imagine now. People are ready to throw anything that they get their hands on at you for any little thing because people are stressed out. Because people are on the verge of losing their homes. People are living in homes that they're paying their rent barely or mortgage barely, but they have no food. This is madness. The list goes on. It doesn't abate. It gets worse. So we have to be careful in our daily lives and how we interact with people. Seriously, because this is no joke. This could mean life and death for anyone. Just today I was reading in the news in Portland, some crazy white man on a train jumped up on a train, started screaming, and then said effing niggers, and pulled out a knife and stabbed two young teenagers. Both of them, got cut pretty good, but one almost died because he managed to cut on the outskirts of his heart. They were all right. They were in the hospital, but one almost died. And these events are increasing around the country. Racism is increasing, especially from white males, sadly enough. I didn't say all white America. I said some white males, but the incidents are ramping up, leading us ever so close to a civil war in this country, or civil/race war, one that Malcolm X predicted back in the 60s, and one that has been foretold of long before that. You see, when you steal a country, and the inhabitants that you stole a country from are still here, and then you steal a whole entire people on top of it, and to steal a people within a country. Now, hear me on this one. Steal a people within a country. What does that mean? Because I'm a byproduct of that. I grew up not knowing that this was my country. I grew up thinking that I was from Africa, or wherever the case was, and that's not 100% false either, because I'm Black and Native. But my grandmothers are from here. I have over 1,000 years of history with my family tree that I've managed to find. So when I say steal a people within a country, they've managed to steal people, put them in boarding schools, miseducational schools, and give them a different identity. Millions of us. They did it to me. Now I said different identity, a name that was not my own. A history that was not there. that was all rooted out in the boarding schools and in the public food system. All of that was taken from our people. All of that was uprooted. So for many years, I thought that I was just totally black. It's not a bad thing, but I was totally black. Had no native roots, no indigenous roots whatsoever. And thank God that Almighty God, Allah, He showed me the way. He directed my steps. And I was able to open many doors to finding the root of my history, my people, and where I'm from, which is here. I'm born here. This is the place of my birth. And so my mothers, grandmothers, and great-great-great-grandmothers. My father was born here. My grandfather was born here. And my great-grandfather was born here. And my great-great-grandfather was born here. When my greatest of great-grandfathers came to America, I don't know, but it looked like it was well over 100 and something years ago, which to me is mind-boggling. I don't know what behooved them. Like many others, there was the economic boom that was taking place here in the latter part of the 1890s and turn of the century, 1900s, early 1900s. People who had been left out of that economic pool left their countries, because business was leaving, and they decided, oh, it seems like America is up and coming. Let's go over there. And I guess that's one of the reasons why my greatest grandfathers don't know. Again, I have evidence that it looks like my great-great-grandfather was born here. Yeah. So, with that being said, stolen legacy of a people, black people who were kidnapped from Africa, Egypt, which is in Africa, stolen and brought to the so-called New World, even though they were black people here. But the people that they stole weren't ordinary people. These people were highly educated, intelligent. So DeSantis, you can kiss my ass with your ridiculous comments about us becoming more trained in trades. When you kidnap scientists, engineers, carpenters, architects, you kidnap these people. Your people kidnap these people from so-called Egypt in the year 1555. Please don't do that. Don't do that. You racist piece of I know about your family, DeSantis. Your family came from a history, a line of slave plantation owners in Florida. Some people don't know who you are. I know who you are. Don't scare me none. Ain't nothing but a punk. So, these things are unbeknownst to a lot of people as well, that most black people that were kidnapped and brought over here were, in fact, highly educated and well-trained people in their respective fields. This is something that they don't want people to know. That's why they angry woke about. Upset about the woke consciousness community. They don't want us to know. If that was the case, then they would have implemented these things in the school system. And there was the 10% rich slave makers of the poor. They know this information. They don't want us to know. So he doesn't want us to look him in the eye and challenge him, not on a physical level, but a mental level. He knows that once we come out of our dysfunctional mental enslavement, we'll be able to meet him head on. Mentally, verbally. That's a threat to his so-called hegemony. Well, you should have never brought us over here then. You should have never stole a country. And if you feel threatened that much, then make repair. Make reparations so you can get us out of your hair. Smart and stupid at the same time. Get us out of your hair. If you fear us meeting you on the same level and that we would challenge you at every impasse, every interval, that you may not deceive us or belittle us anymore. And that we would be able to not only meet you on that level or whatever it is in business and politics, and sometimes best you. That's what your real fear is. You fear that we might be better than you. And in many ways, we are morally. When your social equality, I know about your social equality. Why you don't want us to be involved in your social equality. Nasty, dirty son of a. I got the lessons on you. In your Knights of Columbus meetings. Your skull and bone fraternities. Think people don't know who you are? There's a lot of us who know who you are now. You're a beast in human form. So, and you scared that the world's gonna find out. Too late. You should have never brought the internet, social media. You shouldn't have brought it up. You shouldn't have brought it out. And now that box is open. You can't put it back. This is spoken of in the book of Revelations. The downfall will be through the World Wide Web. So yeah, it's spoken in Revelations. Yes, absolutely. It's nothing by chance. Technology is nothing new. Any one of us who's taken the time out to study, research, investigate anything regarding the history of this planet, you will find out that we're still living in primitive times to some degree. Well, how can you say that? Because I've done my studies and my research. This is still primitive society. Somewhat advanced, but primitive. We are still poisoning the atmosphere and the water, fossil fuels. We're just scraping the surface with these other elements that we're using, wind and sun, just scratching the surface with that. They haven't even made perfect battery operated cars yet. I know that because my friend just bought a $23,000 Tesla and he can't come visit me. I'm only an hour and a half away from him. He's down in the Bronx. I was surprised when he told me this. He said, I can't really drive too far with the car. The battery will go out. So that, what does that tell you? Limited technology. Even though technology is moving so fast, and it is, still limited. How do you know it's primitive? Because there are, as the minister Nuri Muhammad put it, identified flying objects. I know them. I know who they are. These so-called UFOs, that's what they call them. Because he don't know. He's trying to get a grip. Watch him on YouTube. Every time I turn around, watch him on YouTube, and he's scared to death. These things flying above his head at lightning speeds, and it can't catch him. So when you see something like that, something that's moving over 34,000 miles an hour, something that moves 40 miles in a matter of seconds, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? It's when you think about what this society is built upon, then you're gonna understand why we're in the pickle that we're in today, the madness. This system is built upon falsehoods with superficial progress for the few, huh? Only a few. For the 10% to profit off of the blood, sweat, and tears of the 85%. And we are struggling with powers that they will start a holy war to keep themselves in that position and to keep us in ours. It's mind-boggling to those of us who don't know or understand who and what you're dealing with, what we are dealing with. Again, I say, if you haven't studied, if you haven't researched, investigated, you'll be sitting there like so many people that I speak to on a constant basis. They can't understand why these things are the way they are. Why this system was made for one reason and one reason only, so God can show forth His power and His glory. Glory of God. You have to have an evil entity in the earth for people to suffer for a time, and seeing that with everything that has been done to try to offset this monstrosity, and people who have resisted and fought back only to have failed, that only God can rescue us from this madness. Only God can rescue us from this madness. And that's why the IFOs are here, identified flying objects, UFOs. That's why they're here. You saying that these UFOs are alien gods? No. I'm saying they're black people, brown people, red people, yellow people of the earth who have a mastery of science that you could not comprehend. Science and chemistry and technology. How do you know this? Because I've studied the origins of this planet. And it ain't what white folks been telling us. The pyramids, the Kunti, are a testament to that. And you go to any one of these institutions, these buildings, anywhere on the earth, because they're finding them everywhere, you'll find the white folks inside them. They're changing the color now with the help of some Japanese scientists, or should I say basically Asian scientists, yellow Asian scientists, who are helping them because of their own insecurity and hatred for black people or the darker peoples of the earth. Look at the Japanese and some of the Chinese. Look what they've done and how they treated some of their darker Asian brothers who are in Thailand, in Indonesia, and other Asian islands, countries, who are, some of them are Muslim. Look how they treated them. Look how the Chinese call these Muslim Asians Uyghurs. Uyghurs? Look how they treat them. With disdain. They don't like them because they're darker. Because the world has said to them, and I mean the world, I mean white people have said to them, they ain't no different than niggers in America or anywhere else. And they treat them with, I mean, like something that should be wiped off the bottom of your shoe and discarded in the garbage. So they have been inside these institutions, and they got caught doing it, especially in Kemet. It's called Egypt. They got caught. They were painting over the hieroglyph images, illustrations on the wall that darker, and painting them a white or yellowish color to make them look closer to them, so they can claim the divine. The time is up. Your time is up. All these lies y'all been telling for so long, it's over now. It's over now. The darker peoples are waking up around the planet, and you've been preparing for war against those who will put you back in your place. Meaning, you would have to recognize who the authors of this planet are. The author is definitely not you. Definitely not you. And because of that, your envy and your jealousy has caused you to be blinded by your own stupidity. Which is why God knew that he says in the third and fourth generation, the sins will be visited upon their sons and daughters. Revisited. Even the common folk amongst you losing their damn mind, killing innocent black people. I wish they would touch mine, boys. Lord. So, I ain't one of these pacifists from some of the other states or wherever they come from, man. Touch mine. I ain't never been in trouble with the law. I worked in law enforcement. Never been in trouble with the law. My whole life. You got no criminal record. I'm in my 50s. I'll be 60 years old in a few years. And I look good for my damn age. And that's because of what God has taught me. So, what are our people supposed to do? You're living in this madness that you created. Let us go. Let our people go, or God will bring the fury and the whole entire weight on top of your heads. And he's already showing you through the weather. You're sitting up there arguing amongst yourselves like silly clowns, knowing damn well that this weather ain't right. And it's this partially global warming, yes, partially. But you know some of these weather events are being directed. I know it. I know it because it's hitting certain areas and not hitting others. It's hitting more of a segment of a population more than it is others. I don't have to spell it out. God said he would extend his hand over Egypt and smite Pharaoh for what he has done to his people, the slaves, the Israelites. And that's where we are today. You say, well, how can that be? That's impossible. That happened 2,000 years ago. Shut the hell up. Don't know what you talking about. My aunt traveled to Egypt back in the 1980s with Dr. Ben, a renowned black Egyptologist, went inside the pyramids and found out that the stories that white folks have been telling us ain't nothing but lies. There was no white people in Egypt for 400 years. Damn sure wasn't no white Jews building building pyramids under a hot sun for 430 years. White folks can't even walk down Midtown Manhattan in 80, 90 degree weather in the city without getting skin cancer. You mean to tell me they was building pyramids out in the sun for 430 years? Yeah, right. I've mentioned this in many of my other videos, but I'm going to mention it again. Some people just don't Get it? Egypt is not over there. Egypt is right here, North America. It's right here. Well, how can you prove that? Shit. The time, 15th century. They claim that the first slaves, the first black people who were kidnapped from Africa came over in 1619 in Jamestown, Virginia. Lie. Not in the Library of Congress. There's a different story there. In 1555, they kidnapped scholars, royalty, scientists, engineers, architects from Egypt. Black people. I always have to repeat this fact that they kidnapped black and brown people from Egypt 500 years ago in the year 1555. And from 1555 to 1955 was 400 years. And they said that in Egypt that the Israelites in Egypt would start to come out of their enslavement. But people who are really simple-minded in their thinking, or they just don't understand the narrative, is that coming out of slavery is not physical, it's mental. Physical slavery, anybody could break the chains, but if you still a nigga, you still a slave mentally, you're going to still keep some of the same habits that you've gotten. It's like a trained dog from your enslavers. If you still love that which has killed you, tortured you, lynched you, robbed you, raped you, and hate that which gave birth to you, your family that look like you still enslaved. And then following a program that teaches you to pay all of your money to a day that's supposed to be reflective of remembering who God is, but yet you are making corporations rich. Easter, Christmas, New Year's, Halloween. Still a slave. You're still a slave. You've been programmed and don't know it. And you think you're free. And you're financing your own death and destruction. So the 430-year enslavement was more than just physical chains and beatings. It says that we were to come out of slavery. It was a process. And leaving a point of embarkation to leave. Black people left America, and I think it was the 1920s, under the Marcus Garvey Go Back to Africa movement on the Starliner. When they went to Liberia, they still kept their American minds. You think the American government didn't know that? You think they didn't know that? Think they know it? They knew. Followed them there, and that's why Liberia today is a hellhole, like many other African countries that the white man's managed to go to and destroy his people. Or sold their souls to him, or traded for wealth, whatever. But they've definitely sold their souls. But Liberia, to this day, is a mess. Descendants of slaves who went back, but they didn't go back with the mind of their forefathers before they were kidnapped. Engineers and designers and architects, scientists. They didn't have that. Now, this is what is important for our people to get back. We don't realize it. We still don't realize it. Still don't realize it to this very day. Many of us are waking up, though, that has this man shook. That's why he's planning wars. That's why the scriptures talk about wars and rumors of wars. If you look at the planet right now, that's exactly what this earth is headed towards to this day. That's where we headed. Wars and rumors of wars. When Alexander plundered Greece, when Alexander plundered Kemet, he tried to get Ethiopia, but Ethiopia was too strong. Ethiopia was a powerful nation. He went to its sister, Kemet. Took time, but they destroyed Egypt, Kemet, and turned it into Egypt. They were relentless in their pursuits because they were envious and jealous of what they had and what Greece did not have. And they wanted it. And they got it. But he lost his self and his soul in the process, because if it hadn't been for Ethiopia, there would be no Greece or Rome. Just like if it hadn't been for our people, the slaves that were brought here, the stealing of this land, the helping of the indigenous peoples to this white man, this man wouldn't have America today. And we all know this to be true. It's undeniable, but they will deny it. The white supremacists, they will deny it. Which reminds me, I had to say something the other day about this white man talking about how the cartels are coming into the country. They're setting up little weed farms down in California. You know, they're setting up training facilities with high-powered weapons, AK-47. Well, I'm like, well, hell, who the hell gave them all of these weapons? And then I said, now white people are worried now about cartels setting up? Well, what were you thinking about when the Ku Klux Klan, who has been training up in the mountains of Oregon, Montana, Idaho, in the Northeast, in California as well? We ain't hear y'all saying too much then. So now you're scared that these cartels are down in California. Who you think they're coming to kill you? And why would you feel that way? What did you do? These are legitimate questions. Yeah, this guy was serious, man. He was like, you know, I think he was a military man. He said he was out in the woods and he saw their encampment out in the woods, something like out of Rambo. Said he was with a civilian. You know, guess he was doing some outdoors stuff, and he had his weapon with him. And he said there was too many of them. I'm like, well, didn't you go alert the National Guard? But funny, you ain't hear nobody. That's what many people say anything about these Ku Klux Klan and these right-wing racist militias who have been training for the past 50 plus years up in the mountains around the country. But now it's because they're Mexican cartels. We got a problem. Hypocrites, man. See, they don't care. That tells me that they really don't care, rats, about us. The darker peoples, they don't care about none of us. All they care about is their own selves. And sometimes not even so much as that. Because you know damn well if something like that break out, they ain't gonna try to help us. Either they're there for those to come kill us, or they're gonna flee and run to preserve their own lives. So there's only two people that I trust: God and myself. And that's it. On that note, I'm gonna cut this. I gotta get ready to get back to work. Donada, Kohoni, Anigido, my peoples, I love you. And I look forward to another broadcast, maybe in the near future, hopefully. I had a lot more to say, but I can't complete it today. and I'll probably do that in the next broadcast. All right. Anigido, peace and blessings.